Okay. So, welcome. I do one of these every year, a sort of reflection back on the year. Things that I've learned, things that have gone well, things that I could have done better, and just a general look back, just so I don't forget. And hopefully, some of you out there, especially if you're on the entrepreneurial path, will find this useful. So, yeah, I'm making this now. So for 2025, I'm actually going to follow a slightly different format. I have a couple of just bullet points here. So I'm going to go through different categories of life, starting with work and then wealth, relationships, health, and then general reflections on lifestyle and skills that I've learned along the way. And the reason I've ordered them this way is because, as of right now at least, work is still my number one priority. And then wealth is kind of the, I guess, measuring stick of work. And then relationships and health have been things that I've started to think about a little bit more, even though, the number one priority is still the work that I'm producing. So let's dive into it. 2025 has been a bit of a funny one for work. I am still working in my job as a product lead at a pet food company. And I've started to view work and my relationship to work a little bit differently. Before, work was something that I really, really focused on. And then everything that I did in my free time was kind of bonus on top of that. But now I've started to realize that actually I've come to the sort of cap of how much I can learn from my day job, which is a shame, but also an indication that I've been progressing. So what do I mean by that? There are a few things that I've noticed. Number one is there are now changes that are systematic within the organization that I can't have a direct impact on. And that's because it's bottlenecked by the founders of the organization. And this is not shade against them, but look, they've done really well. But in order to progress and in order to grow the organization in the way that I see fit, I see that I would have to have more responsibility within the organization. And the amount of work that it would take to get that outcome, I don't feel the return is quite there. And a part of that is also because of the salary that I make. So currently I make around 100,000 US dollars per year. And this is out after I had asked for a raise. This is actually a lesson that I learned. You want to pay your top performers way more than you think is reasonable. And this actually becomes like a limiting belief at some point, because there'll be people in your organization who bring in way more value and who can do way, way more for your organization than others. That's just the nature of things. But if you find one of those people, but then don't compensate them, reward them for their work accordingly, then they're going to get bored and they're going to feel that there isn't enough juice to be squeezed out of this particular fruit, this particular organization, and then they're going to want to leave. And this is what I saw happening with myself, because there are people within the organization, within the company, that were clearly not producing as much as I was, or that I knew I was capable of. And despite proving that again and again, I was not rewarded properly for it. And despite pointing it out that I would like to be compensated fairly, this didn't happen. So people that run organizations, if you don't pay the top performers well, they're going to get bored, they're going to leave. And especially if you pay mediocre performers more than top performers because of title, because of age, seniority, anything like that, anything that isn't directly tied to performance, they're gonna become disenchanted and they're gonna leave. So this was a lesson that I learned, and something that I don't want to do for my own organization. In terms of work outside of that, I've spent a lot of time, I've gotten a lot better at building things. And it's gotten to the point where now, when I first started, I felt like I had to prove that I was good at building stuff, and like I didn't have enough evidence to support that. But now, after finally, producing like probably 20 different full stack applications, I now feel confident saying that I know how to build things. Like I can make an app, I can make a website, I'm good at it. And there are things that obviously I have to learn, but this is no longer a point of like proof that I have to prove to someone. And so with this came some interesting shifts. I realized that I was doing the same thing that I was doing before, which is hopping from idea to idea, because I still didn't feel like I had the ability to prove that I was good at building things. And so I felt like I had to go from idea to idea to prove that, to find the right one, to find the one that was going to be the one that ends up taking off. What I'm realizing more and more is that my bottleneck right now is actually marketing. And I've tried a few different ways to solve this. I've tried partnering with people. I've tried finding agencies, freelancers, and I've just tried more recently putting more effort in. Like, what would I do if I knew that this was going to work? Like, if I knew that this worked and it was up to me to make it work, how would I do this? How would I change what I'm doing day to day? And so this has become more of a focus, and this is exciting because it feels like something that I can change and it's under my control. And now that I know that I can build a product that actually gets results and actually people want to use, I know that I just have to become much, much better at marketing. And that's something I can do. And so this has been a sort of topic around how I think about my own work. The goal right now is to go full-time on my own thing without fundraising. So I want to bootstrap. There are a few reasons for that. I don't think there's anything wrong with fundraising, but I don't feel okay, so you have to do like an expected value calculation, right? Whenever you make any kind of decision, you have to think, okay, is the amount of additional effort that I spend on trying to get outcome A worth the additional lift of the benefit based on the amount of effort that I could spend on outcome B to get to a similar effort? And right now, my option A is raising funding, finding the right partner, like going full-time quicker, hopefully. Option B is bootstrapping on my own app's own ideas and maybe partnering with someone, but also going full-time. So the goal is to go full-time. It's not to fundraise, it's not to get like huge valuations, at least right now. What I've found after trying to partner with a few people, I've had a bunch of different conversations with potential co-founders. I've actually even started one and tried to actively fundraise with someone. I found that the hardest thing is finding the right partner. And what I'm realizing is the caliber of partner that I can attract also depends on the type of person and the type of outcome that I have under my belt that I can prove I can achieve. And so if I think about that, I feel like I'm jumping the gun by trying to fundraise and trying to find a partner versus having my own proof that I can deliver an outcome with my own work. And so I'm choosing to focus on option B of like going to bootstrap, trying to do my own thing. But here, this decision was actually pretty difficult to make because I didn't know what the right answer was. I spoke to a mentor. I paid someone to like walk me through it. I've had a bunch of conversations with like my future self using ChatGPT. I've written a bunch of like, docu essays about this just to like try and figure out what is the right thing to do here. And there is a lesson here, which is if you're not sure what to do, the only thing you should do is something. It doesn't matter what it is. If you're not sure whether outcome A or outcome B is the right choice, and you're doing outcome B, then you need to try outcome A. You need to try what it would take to go to outcome A, because only by making that effort and by making that mistake do you realize, oh, actually, this is not for me, or this is for me. In my case, it turns out raising, probably not for me right now, but doesn't mean that I won't in the future. It just means right now, that's not the path that I'm choosing. What else on work? I've realized that maybe the UK is not right for me. And the reason for that is because I think I would regret it if I don't explore what life would be like in the US. And so I've explored a couple of different ways. Fundraising is one of those ways. Looking for a different job is another one of those ways. But honestly, right now, the location isn't priority number one, just because, again, it's one of those things where if I have proven myself to be able to work for my own goals and in my own time make enough to sustain myself so that I can go and travel and go and meet people, then that in itself gives me more credibility, and that in itself opens more doors for me. And so I feel the highest leverage thing that I can do right now is go as hard as I can in promoting and building my own apps so that I can build it and get the results that I want and then go full time in it. So that's the focus in terms of work. I've had a bit of a shift in terms of how I think about community around work as well. I've been previously pretty against networking and like relationships around work, but I've kind of gone a sort of step back from this. And I think you'll see this as a theme throughout the video, which is that I'm not necessarily trying to I'm not trying to promote moderation. What I am saying is that previously, when I approached anything, work, relationships, networking, friends, anything like that, I've been very, very one-sided. Like I would go to the extreme, go all the way to the max, and then I would have no sort of flexibility around it. I've realized that there are certain things where once you reach a certain threshold of skill, of capacity, of capability, you actually benefit more from pulling back a little bit. So relationships in terms of work has been one of them, because now that I have enough skills to be able to add value to others who are also highly skilled, I've been able to network in a much more meaningful way with much higher caliber people. And so I've joined this like group of developers, of founders, and I've been able to network and add value in there. And this has been a fantastic experience. Like it's been a really, really cool experience. And the way that I'm adding value, by the way, is that I am looking at the group as a whole. I'm looking at the people in that group and figuring out things that I am good at that I can help them achieve. And for example, one of those is onboarding flows in consumer apps. I'm pretty good at it. And so I've been able to consult briefly with one of the founders. It's a network group of people on WhatsApp. So I've been able to create like a networking chatbot, like kind of like Boardy, and demo it for the group, and that was enough to get me sort of invited into like a more personal level of connection with the founders of the group. So it's again this idea of you just provide value on the front end, and then you don't really expect anything on the back end. You just kind of give it a go, right? And this is what getting better allows you to do, because you have the skills, you know that you can produce an outcome, you have the confidence, you have the skills, you have the know-how, and you have the speed to be able to execute against that. And once you have all those, then you can start to take these shots, because the shots aren't as expensive anymore because you have the skills to back it up. You know how to do this. I know how to look at onboarding flow and generate a better flow based on the goals of the founder. And so it doesn't take a lot for me to look at it and give feedback, right? And so it's another one of those things that only became possible recently because I've gained specific domain knowledge that is actually valuable, that is actually monetizable. And so I feel like I'm sort of at the precipice of being able to provide more value. Whereas before I was very much in the phase of like skill gathering. I was still trying to like hone my skills, my craft. But now that I have it, I can use it to gain other skills, other crafts, and then hopefully push myself even further. So yeah, I think that's kind of it on the work front. On the wealth front, Honestly, not that much has changed. My stance on money has remained largely the same, which is that you want to minimize the costs of living, minimize day to day, so that you can maximize the risk taking that you can afford on the things that are going to push you forwards. So I still spent, probably tens of thousands, I want to say, on just like personal development, on courses, on taking shots, trying things out, building things. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. If anything, I'm trying to do more of it because I've realized that I'm very, very risk averse, and it might be holding me back a little bit. Next up is relationships. Relationships it's an interesting one actually, because I've been looking for a partner for probably, like 9 months, I want to say. And I've been looking fairly regularly, fairly seriously, and there are a few things that I've learned. Number one, I need to be willing to be a little bit more flexible when it comes to relationships and realize that there is nothing that comes with no downsides. And previously, I've had relationships, had dates where there were downsides, sacrifices that I had to make. And because I was completely unwilling to make them, I lost some really good people. But there is things that I'm not willing to compromise on. For example, I need someone who is ambitious, someone who cares about or knows about entrepreneurship, because without that, I find it's very, very difficult to have a conversation about lifestyle, about goals. Without having a person who is also very action oriented, who knows what it feels like to go after a goal that's uncertain, that goes against the status quo, and who isn't following like a set path of like a career, it just becomes really difficult. Probably not impossible, but very difficult. Number three is I've realized that physical attraction matters. There was a brief period where I thought it didn't. And so I went on a few dates with people who I didn't necessarily find attractive, but whose mentality I found incredibly attractive. And I realized that actually that doesn't work. It doesn't really work, which is a shame because they were incredible people. I still have not had success, so I'm still not in a relationship, but I'm hoping to find someone. I feel like it's also a process of like trial and error. I previously completely bent my rules, went out with people who were like very materialistic and very pretty, tried going with like pure values, and now I'm like trying to find the path, right? It's like with anything, any kind of decision making framework, you have to realize, you have to kind of probe the edges of what the possibilities are, where do you fall down, where are the walls, where is the non-negotiable, where can you bend a little, right? So these are all lessons that I had to learn. Health comes next. I've started to care a little bit more about my health, at least in the sense of like regular exercise, and I've started doing a lot more like cardio. I've started swimming a lot more, running, and I've also started to care a little bit more about the way that I look. Health and looks, let's group them into one because they kind of go together. The reason for that is I've realized that the way that you present yourself to the world actually matters, and it doesn't matter as much as most people think, but it's kind of like free leverage. It's like free advantage. If you present yourself in a very sort of disheveled, sort of unkempt way, you start off on a deficit, and then you kind of have to make up for that with your skills or your ability, your value proposition. And I realized that things are hard enough as it is. And so I might as well, take care of myself a little bit better, grow out my hair a little bit, make myself a bit more presentable. And I feel like that has paid off dividends. I'm not spending a huge amount of effort or money. I'm not buying any new clothes, but like I'm presenting myself, and it has so far been worth it. Not only in relationships or finding a potential partner, but also in my work. And yeah. Finally, we come to lifestyle and skills. I don't know if I have much to say about this. I would say that I've gained a lot of skills. I feel like I have slowed down, but that's because I've been making a lot of mistakes and I've been trying to decide on a few of these points, like should I try and find another job? Should I try and fundraise? Should I bootstrap? Should I be working on different apps? Should I partner with people? Like, these are all questions that had been swirling in my mind for the past few months, and I feel like I've gained clarity on most of them. I I am still clear, crystal clear on my values. I still, wake up early. I still do my work before I go to my 9 a.m. Yeah, I feel like I'm making progress, but I also feel like there's a lot that needs to happen, specifically in marketing. I feel the deficit of my skill there the most. And so I see this gap between where I am and where I want to go. And I realized that I needed to have a sort of framework shift, like a mindset shift, because it might sound weird, but previously I was kind of just pretending to do marketing. Really, I was focusing on the building, and I was just kind of thinking about marketing and going through the motions of doing marketing. And whereas now I realize that the marketing is the thing. It's the thing that is holding me back. It's the thing that is in the way between me and where I want to go, which is going full time on my own thing and building my own apps. And now that I realize that, I can kind of see the gap a little bit more clearly. I see that there is a level of effort and dedication to the craft that is required to the marketing, kind of the same way that there is to onboarding or building an app or building a good experience for the user. And so now that I realize that, I'm excited, I guess, to work on that, because I can feel that that is going to be the next unlock. I can feel that that is the thing that I need to master next. And now that I have a goal, I can work on it, and I need to build up the skills around how to work on that. But yeah, that's it. That's my 2025. It's been a hectic year. There were some lonely points. I do feel that I'm in a better spot. I'm in a more advantageous spot. I have more cards in my deck. I have more skills that I can pull on. I have more resources. I have more perspective. I have a bit more wisdom, and I'm ready to go. See you next year.